The biggest bottleneck in your business isn't your marketing, your sales process, or your product. It's people. And I don't just mean your team, I mean you, because there are only so many hours in the day. The more the business grows, the more work has to get done. And either you do it all yourself and you burn out, or you hire and now you're managing people. You're dealing with inconsistency and you're watching your margins shrink day by day. Double the output, double the team, double the cost, and that is the trap. Now, I've spent over 8 years building businesses. I built my marketing agency Affluent.co to multiple 7 figures. I've mentored over 4,500 other business owners, and this problem, the people problem, is the single biggest ceiling I see in every business that I touch. And so I did something about it recently. I built a team of AI employees for my own marketing agency, 15 of them across 4 departments: sales, marketing, fulfillment, and operations. They work 24/7, they cost pennies, and they know everything I know about running a business. 8 years of knowledge baked into every single one of them. And I genuinely believe this is the future of how businesses will operate. Not a chatbot that you ask questions to, but a system that runs entire departments, that eventually will run the entire business itself. Now, if you watched my last video where I broke down the AI operating system behind my business currently, you'll know that I have gone very deep on this. If you haven't seen that, you can go and watch it after this one. I'll put a link in the description. But today I want to zoom into one specific part of that system, the AI employees. And I want to show you exactly how to build your own. So whether you run an agency, a brand, a SaaS company, a coaching business, whatever it is, the architecture will stay the same. And I'm going to demo my system live so you can see it in action. Then I'm going to break down the 6-layer blueprint so you can build your own version. Now, before we get into it, I'm going to run a competition on this video. I want to know what your single biggest bottleneck is in your business right now. Is it the people? Is it systems? Is it sales? Is it knowledge? Or is it something else? Comment it below and then follow me on Instagram at Jordan Platten and DM me the keyword AI team, and I'm going to send you the complete blueprint that I break down as a Notion document from this video. Plus, I'm also going to enter you in the chance to win a coaching call with a senior member of my team, one in every 100 of you that do enter, and I'll announce the winner in the community post very soon. Right, let me show you what this thing actually looks like in action. So what you're seeing right now is Agency OS X. This is the system that I originally built for my own agency. And rather than just telling you about it, I want to show you in action first so you can see the depth of what is possible here. I've built 15 AI agents organized into 4 departments. We have foundation, so general admin across the business. We even created a mindset coach for the team if they're dealing with any personal issues they want to talk about. Legal, we've got sales and marketing, so how we find and acquire new clients. We have fulfillment, how we deliver our services to our clients. We are a performance marketing agency. We create ad creative and spend money on them on platforms like Meta in order to get return on investment for our clients. So we have a marketing strategy, we've got a creative strategist, but of course, when you're creating this system for yourself, you want to make sure these team members are relevant for you. And then of course, operations, hiring, communication. We even have some luxury roles that we don't want to spend the money for in the business to hire a physical person, but would be a nice to have, like Max, the systems architect, who can build entire automations for the company based on rigid kind of manual processes at the moment. And each one of these agents has deep specific knowledge. This isn't some generic AI with a different skin. This isn't some custom GPT. I'm talking about tens of thousands of words of compiled expertise per employee built from 8 years of running and coaching agencies. Let me show you a few things. So I say Max can generate automation. And so if I go on his skills, the team can see here that Max can actually generate full automation blueprints, JSON files that we can upload into NA10 or make.com that we can use to completely automate processes. Or he's fed with our SOP template, standard operating procedures, and can go and create those documents inside of our Notion. So it's automatically integrated to all of our tools. You know, Mia, the ad specialist, can actually integrate with Meta and so has access to all of the ad account data from all of our clients. And then the ads team can use this to analyze information and then establish based on our benchmarks what they need to change going forward into the ad account. And this really is the first step to me creating a completely automated media buying process in the business. Sam, the sales coach, has analyzed thousands of sales call reviews that our sales manager has hosted over the past few years, and now has all of the knowledge in order to create great sales call reviews, can review all of the calls that all of our team host, give them feedback and help them improve on a weekly basis. So no longer are we reviewing just one call a week manually, but we can review every single sales call and give feedback to the team every step of the way. And I'd be here all day if I went through every single skill that we've created across the team here. But the ultimate evolution of this, and what we're now working towards with the first step, is creating independent workflows across this team. Not just creating a chat-based function where the team can speak to or upload files or have conversation back and forth, but the AI team now can independently complete tasks. So if I go into workflows, we recently integrated our client onboarding pipeline. And so what happens is when we have a new client onboarding form, we can either manually upload it or we can trigger a webhook. And what happens is now the fulfillment team, the AI fulfillment team, can go ahead and can complete a number of different resources for us that reduce the workflow from maybe half a day to 30 minutes maximum. So Maya, the marketing strategist, will go ahead and take the client onboarding information, create a comprehensive marketing strategy document. Nina, the creative strategist, will then take all of our creative lessons from spending millions on meta ads and create some killer ad scripts. You know, Clara, the ad copy, the copywriter, will go ahead and write all of the ad copy that we have on those ads and various and different variances and A/B tests. And then Mia, the ad specialist, will go ahead and create the actual campaign structure so the media buying team can go ahead and launch those ads. The step further from that is when we can then go ahead and automate that process in the ad account itself, which is what we're working on right now. Let me show you some of this output as well. So this was a marketing strategy document for a dental group, okay? And you can see this is a fully comprehensive marketing strategy document from funnel architecture, the creative strategy direction. This is the email and SMS flows, of breaking down specific KPIs and benchmarks for that industry. We then went and sent it to the creative strategist, all automated, who then came up with the creative strategy. We've got different emotional hooks to tie people in. We've got different ad concepts that we can explore here. You know, we can come up with different hooks. We've got all these hooks that are automatically generated, taken from previous best winning hooks that we've had across clients, the testing framework for the ads, the filming day shot list, that's breaking it down for every single department based on what we actually need. All of this takes so much time manually. Goes over to the copywriter, write all of the copy for the ad itself. So we've got the main primary text, we've got the headlines and so on, and variances of all of those. This is creating longevity. And then finally, we actually have the campaign structure. So we have all of the UTM tags. We've got the campaign structure itself. We've got the campaign names. All of this has been done automatically through this workflow that we created, triggered by the onboarding form, which used to take half a day's of work. That is fucking insane. And this is like the tip of the iceberg of what we are now able to do by building an AI employee system. You know, and all of the chats are saved, of course. We've got all of those creature comforts, light mode, dark mode, mobile access, etc. We can add custom knowledge base on the back end, so all of the information about our agency. We can add completely custom knowledge, but not just as global, but up to each individual agent as well. So we can train it over time automatically with new knowledge we're feeding back into the system. We've integrated various different tools across the company to make this a fully automated team. And that is the ultimate evolution of what we're building here. This is the system that has really taken up the last, well, I'd say it's taken up. This is one of probably 5 detailed AI systems that have taken up my past 5 weeks of 15-hour days of hibernation. But I want to be honest with you about something. When I first built this, it was purely for my own agency. It was this real pain. I built it because I was frustrated with the same problems every business owner has to deal with. This inconsistency on quality across departments, these bottlenecks with efficiency, always wanting to produce more faster, and these knowledge gaps for new hires. Having to bring people up to speed, having to train people on the standard across the entire company and keep that consistent standard across the company. But as I built this, I started to realize that this thing was going to change how we operate the business entirely. And not just for one task, and not even just for one department. I'm talking about a system that will eventually run the entire business. Now, we're not quite there yet, but we are heading there. And the rate in which we are growing things is quite frankly outrageous. And the thing is, once I saw what it could do, I couldn't keep it to myself. Now, I also work with thousands of other agency owners across various different mentorship programs and have done for almost 8 years now. And I just thought to myself, they need this. And so what I did is I released it to them, and I did it for free. And the response almost immediately was beyond anything that I expected. I had one guy message me saying that in one evening he used it to build out all of his SOPs, create strategies for clients, and audit his sales meetings. Another guy said that he built out his entire backbone of his agency with it in just one sitting. And I think this is the moment where it goes from being a cool new piece of tech that was fun to build to being genuinely life-changing. Because this is what people are doing with the early version of what I built. Imagine what is possible in a few months from now as I keep developing this. So let me show you how I built this out. And I'm going to break this down in 6 layers so you can build a system like this for yourself. Now, I'm not going to turn this into a vibe coding tutorial. I think I want to make that clear. I'm going to give you the architecture, the components, and the genuine thinking behind it so you understand what actually goes into this. And then whether you build it for yourself or you use mine, maybe, you'll know exactly what's under the hood. So let's get into this. The first step is building the brain, okay? And to start off with, I want you to know what the actual tech stack is and how physically you can build this. I am also going to give you access to this entire document through entering the competition I mentioned at the start of this video, or just DMing me on Instagram, okay? Now, the tech stack, what we actually use to build this is VS Code. VS Code is an open source code editor, and this is where you build and talk to the AI. This is where you interface with the AI. The AI model itself is Claude Opus 4.6, and this is the best coding model, bar none at the moment. It's got a very large context window. This is the brain behind your employees. The database, so where we're storing all of that information, all of the data, all of the context, that is on Supabase. So it stores the conversations, the context, and the data. The deployment is on Versal. So when we create that front end, which you just saw, that agency at OSX, nicely designed, if I may say so myself, bringing back the design roots user interface, that's hosted on Versal. And so that's the front end that your team can access. Although you don't need to host on Versal if you're just using it for yourself. You can create a local version before you're needing to deploy it with this front-facing SaaS, okay? So, and that's what I'd recommend you doing until you're ready to do that. And then for version control, so like storage, keeping track of everything and everything backed up, all of the files, all of the tech, then GitHub is where that's gonna be. Now, Claude Code on VS Code will set all of this up for you. So if you're intimidated by this, you're thinking, I don't even know how to do this, like, don't worry, Claude Code will help you do this. I didn't understand how to do any of this like 6 weeks ago before I went in the trenches getting locked in on vibe coding, okay? And you don't need all of this from day one. This is the stack behind a production grade system. This is the best of the best. This is the architecture or the actual tech stack behind it. Now, once we've got that understood, and then there are 6 different layers that we must build out, and we must build these in chronological order in order to come up with a system that's as comprehensive as what I've created. We start here. Before the AI knows your industry, it needs to know you. So we actually start off with our personal context before we start talking about the business. No context means we're going to get generic responses. Context means it's going to be tailored to our solution. Okay, many people will, especially if they haven't started in business yet, some of you might be watching this right now and you're complete beginners, you won't have a huge amount of context yet because you don't actually have a business, but it's vital that you at least put in the context about who you are personally and what you actually want. Because if not, what you're going to do is build a system that anybody can build because you're using the shared knowledge across any global LLM from data that's been scraped across the internet. Okay, and I'm going to come on to this shortly about why it is vital this system is personal to you if you actually want to build a successful company. Because anyone can build a cool system these days, but actually building something of real value that's going to allow you to scale a company and then potentially even sell that company, that takes something very personal. Okay, now, we start off with a personal context. This is who we are and what we actually want. If you think about these, by the way, as 3 different files within 3 different context files. Who we are and what we actually want. Many people have who we are, but what we actually want is important. What are our goals? What is our North Star? What is the lifestyle that we are building towards? How do we think and how do we make decisions? What do we refuse to compromise on? What are our non-negotiables? What are our values as a person? You want to have these included in your personal context, and you want to definitely not allow anybody else to create this for you. You, as the founder, have to be the person to create all of this content, because if someone else creates it for you, the system is going to think like someone else and not think like you. And let's be real, we all started a business for very selfish reasons. We started it to serve our life. And so the system has to know what that life is we are striving to achieve, and it starts with personal context. Then we go into business context. So what do we do? Who do we serve? How do we make money? What is our current revenue? How many clients have we got? What's our team structure? What's our capacity? What's our ICP, our ideal customer? How do we actually acquire those customers? What is working? What's broken? Where the bottlenecks are? So as much information as possible on the business, and you can just brain dump a whole bunch of other resources, a whole bunch of voice notes, maybe even a video into Claude Code, and just get it to create this context document for you. So don't worry about taking a massive information and then condensing it down into a more specific context doc. And then strategic context. So what we want the system to achieve. You know, is it more efficiency? Is it fewer hires? Or is it both of those things? Where do we want it to take the business? Okay, where's the business actually heading? Not just where it is now. So if you're at 10K a month and you want to get to 100K, but at 100K, what is that state? You know, I want this system to be able to automate me out of the company. I want you to become my digital CEO. I want you to build AI employees that can run the entire department of fulfillment, for example. What is the goal? What are you working towards in that business? For me, I know that I'm building a system that I want to automate the company. I want it to remove as much work from myself and from the existing team as humanly possible, whilst maintaining our high standards and actually proactively improving the standards that we have across the business at the moment. So that is layer one, that is our context. Layer two is identity. This is who our AI employees are and what they actually do, okay? And so you need to know what team you are building before you build it. Many of you will be agency owners naturally if you're watching my content. And so you'll be able to copy a bunch of the AI employees that I've got, because I've deeply thought about which ones are going to be relevant for the business. But some of you might be in a completely different business vertical. And if you are, you need to know what team you need to build. And so we start off by designing a team. We write down every function that our business needs covered at the moment. So what are all of the tasks that we have to fulfill in the company? What are all the departments? And think like you have unlimited budget. This is really important. Who would we hire tomorrow if we had unlimited budget? That is our blueprint, okay? Because when in the world of AI, the only limitation is our ideas. The only limitation is what we can think of. And so we need to act as if we have no limitations. Money probably being the biggest limitation when it comes to building team. That then becomes our blueprint. We group into roles, so we group tasks into roles. So for example, if we've got a whole bunch of ad management stuff, that's going to be a media buyer, or we've got a copywriter, or an outreach specialist, or a sales coach, or a strategist. So we take tasks, we group them into roles. And if you are not sure where to start here, do a 2-week time audit. It doesn't matter what time or stage you are in business right now. Write down all of the things that you and your team work on a daily basis over the course of 2 weeks, and then the tasks you hate become your first AI employees. Okay? But really, you want to have all of those tasks across the whole business covered by the AI employees. Because look, even if your goal isn't to replace your existing team, you know, you want to just make sure that their quality stays consistent or raises to the standard you actually expect. And you make their life easier, you make them more efficient. So even if you've got existing physical human team members, you want to create an AI version of them to aid them along their role. Next, we need to build for where we are actually going. So don't just model today's team, model the team at our next revenue milestone. So you might be at 10K, wanting to get to 100K. We'll build those AI employees now. You're going to grow an awful lot faster if you project what the team is going to look like. So get your organizational structure, plan out how that's going to change when you get to 100K, and then build for that now. Human teams scale reactively, okay? When we have the financial resource, we start bringing people in. It's like, oh, I feel like I can hire this person now. And very often we choose between person A and person B, and it's quite a hard decision. Okay, we're acting as if we have unlimited resources. And so AI teams should scale proactively. We're not limited by the usual constraints that we are when we are hiring humans. Now, once we understand that team, we've written it down, we understand, okay, these are our departments, these are the team members that we actually want, then we must define each of those employees individually. So what is their individual communication style? Is it direct? Is it nurturing? Is it formal? Is it casual? And so on. How do we want them to be? And this is also personal to you. How do you want the team to interact? But also each individual role should be different. And so, for example, Leo, our legal specialist, is going to converse very differently to Blake, our mindset specialist. Blake is going to be more empathetic and more conversational, Leo is going to be very direct and matter of fact because we don't want to make mistakes when it comes to legal. Also, we have it baked into each of our employees that they have to ensure that they have all of the relevant information before they fulfill tasks for team members. This is actually vital. When you make life easy for your team or for anyone, they're always looking for ways to make it even easier. Okay, so you could reduce their workload by 90% and they're still going to look for another way to cut out time to be lazy. And so people end up putting shit prompts into the system. And so you want to bake into the system that each of these agents know that if they don't have good information, if they've been given a shit prompt, they need to be inquisitive and they need to refuse to deliver the desired outcome, the file, the task, whatever it is they're working on until they have the right information so they can fulfill the task to the required standard. That's really important. Expertise boundaries, so what they help with, what they don't. You don't just want 15 team members, but they all start merging across departments. It needs to be very clear what they can do and what they can't do, because then you want them to hand off and redirect to other specialists. So if we were to go on Agency OSX right now and we would say to Leo, build me a lead list, Leo's going to say, well, this isn't right for me. You need to go over to Kai, who's going to generate that list for you. Would you like me to go ahead and do it? That's more in Carl's wheelhouse than mine. Okay, cool. So let's switch to Kai. Now Kai's going to be fed that context from Leo and it's going to say, okay, cool. I can see you want to build a lead list. Who is it you're actually trying to build this list for? Welcome back, lead list. Now we're talking. Before we get started, I want to get a few things straight. You're at this many clients, well, right, it has context on all of our agency, of course, fed into the back end. It knows where we're at. What kind of D2C brands are you looking to go after? What geography focus? How many leads are you looking to get? And so now we've been handed over to the right specialist. That's really important because if you try and do, it's pretty obvious, but if you're trying to do the wrong thing with the wrong team member, they don't have the right context in order to fulfill the task or the standard that you need it to. Okay, each one should feel like a different person, not the same chatbot in a different costume, okay? So it must be very defined on what these team members are doing, and that is vital if we're going to create this completely automated team that can fulfill individual tasks on the back end without us, and we can actually trust them to fulfill that work to the standard we require it. Then finally, we've got team dynamic. Okay, they need to know each other exists. They must each be fed with context that tells them what all of the other team members do, so they know who to hand off to. If you're in the wrong domain, they then redirect to the right specialist. And this is what makes it a team, not 15 separate chatbots. We have it baked into the system that if somebody in the fulfillment team comes over to Clara with a brand new client and they want to generate a whole bunch of ad copy, but they haven't yet built a marketing strategy, Clara's going to say, hang on a second, I don't have a record of a marketing strategy we've built for this new client yet. Start off with Maya first, build the marketing strategy, and then go to Nina, the creative strategist, and then come to Clara. So we're creating not just these automated workflows, but also these theoretical workflows that challenge the logic and the route in which people go in order to get tasks completed. People like to cut corners, and so we need to understand how the team works with each other, just like our physical team works with each other. Okay, and so it's a really interesting thing to think about is how existing physical teams relate to each other and how they hand off work to each other, and then baking that into an AI system so it can be done congruently. That's layer 2, that's identity. Layer 3 is knowledge. Okay, this is where most people skip through to. It's like, let me go straight into the knowledge itself, like my SOPs and so on. This is layer 3. So this is context tells the AI who you are, knowledge tells it what it knows. This layer separates a useful system from a generic chatbot. So what goes into a knowledge base? We have our frameworks, we have our methodologies that we've developed over time, we have industry benchmarks, okay, so our close rates, our response rates, pricing models, ad conversion rates, cost per lead, and so on. Each individual agent is going to have relevant benchmarks, case studies and real examples from our experience, training material that we've completed, or course content that you've absorbed over time, although don't plagiarize other people's content, transcribed content, videos, podcasts, calls, meetings that you've found useful, SOPs and documented processes. So we scraped 7,000 calls across our business, across various different departments, sales calls, client calls, onboarding calls, etc. We scraped hundreds of SOPs. We scraped all of our emails. We scraped all of our historic Slack. Every single piece of data that you have across the business, you want to scrape and turn into relevant context for each of these agents, okay? This is the intellectual property of the future. The tools are accessible to everyone. And this is actually arguably the most important part of this entire video, actually. The tools are accessible to everyone. And right now, you can go, you're 2 minutes away from going on Instagram, going on Reels, and like finding some random 16-year-old kid who's created some mental Claude code system that makes you think, oh my God, like now I'm Iron Man, now I'm sitting in front of Jarvis and like I'm unstoppable. Right? That 16-year-old kid's never made a penny in his life. He's now just building an incredible system, okay? The system is impressive, but it has no tangible benefit in a real business. It hasn't been proved in an actual setting. And that's because the tools are accessible to everyone and the barrier to entry is already low and it is dropping fast. Soon everyone will be able to build this. The barrier will be zero and the only differentiator is your knowledge, your way of doing things, your experience. So if you keep it generic, and your AI will give the same answers that everybody else gets for free. Your individuality is the moat. Okay, the moat being, here's your castle, this is the bit of water around it that makes, people can't get close to you. Your frameworks, your processes, and your hard-won lessons across the company. Without it, everyone blends into AI-generated genericness. With it, you are irreplaceable. If you ever want to sell your company, this intellectual property plugged into your system, the brain, is the value. The system itself doesn't have intrinsic value. We must understand that. It's very easy to convince ourselves that now we can create these comprehensive systems that we've never been able to create before, that they are the value. They are not. The data, the intellectual property, is the valuable element of the system. And that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for some of you that are brand new to business. Because if you're brand new to business, you haven't actually built the valuable piece yet. Some of you will be watching this thinking, well, I'm going to build the system and I'm going to make loads of money. Honestly, the truth is you're probably not. You have to be able to get experience in a marketplace, be able to generate value in a marketplace, and then be able to create some kind of individuality that makes you unique in that marketplace to then build that true value that someone is going to be willing to buy. Sure, you can start off by building a system and just generate or build a cash flow company that's going to make you some money on a monthly basis. That's all good. But if you want to sell a company for multiple millions, 8 figures, 9 figures like I do, then you're going to have to build some intellectual property along the way, and that generally takes time and signing up lots of clients. And that is not going to change with AI. In fact, that's just going to become more and more important. So those are the first 3 layers, and that's what I call the brain. The context is who you are and where you're going. The identity is the team that you're building, and the knowledge is what that team actually knows. And if you get these 3 things right, you've already got something significantly more useful than talking just a Claude code with no context. And this is the part that matters, whether you've already got a team of 10 or 20, or you're completely on your own. Because if you're just starting out, these AI employees become your first hires. You don't need to spend months finding and training a media buyer or a copywriter or someone to do your outreach. You just build one instead. And it's ready now, not in 2 months. You can do this in a couple of days. But right now, all you've got is something that talks with the brain. It gives advice, it answers questions, but it doesn't actually do anything. And that's a difference between an AI advisor and an AI employee. An employee produces work. So, let me show you the next 3 layers. We have to build the machine. Layer 4 is capabilities. These are the tools. An AI that only answers questions is a glorified FAQ. A real employee produces work. So we have to build out these core capabilities, what we want the team to do. And I've highlighted here 5 different capabilities that you can build out as default, but you want to go a lot deeper into this, which I will highlight. So first of all, we have file generation, documents, spreadsheets, email sequences, SOPs, contracts, Notion documents. So generally just creating files across the business. Web search, we want to make sure we've got that integrated so we have real-time data. We can do company research, we can do competitor analysis, we can do lead sourcing and scraping. Document analysis as well, we want to be able to upload images and videos. So if I go over to Agency OSX, Nina, the creative strategist, doesn't just receive PDFs and so on, but she can analyze videos. We can upload video ads, and she's fed with all of our knowledge on ads, and then can give feedback on how we can improve those ads. She can generate images with Nano Banana Pro, and so these are the kind of capabilities that we're looking to build that are relevant for us. That's that image generation I just highlighted. And also workflows. I've already run through the workflows there, so we can chain employees together with a multi-step process. Again, we can start thinking about various different processes that we can create inside of the business. I've got some other examples here. Monthly video ad scripts, lead research and outreach, content repurposing. So we can take a single piece of content and then we can turn that into emails, we can turn it into LinkedIn posts, we can turn it into Instagram posts, whatever we want to do. The possibilities really are endless. You can achieve any anything. The only limitation is your ideas. We then want to think about integrations. So we want to connect to the tools that our business is already running. We've connected to Notion, we're connected to the ad manager. We're connecting to our Slack and our various different integration channels, CRM, project management, email, calendar, of course, ad platforms, analytics. You want one system that talks to absolutely everything, and it's the connective tissue of your business. It is very easy now with Claude Code just to connect APIs to systems like this. And then, of course, we've got that workflow concept. One employee's output becomes the next employee's input. The lead researcher finds 50 prospects. The outreach specialist writes sequences. The copywriter writes follow-ups, and it's all automatic. It's one person and an entire team's output, and we can do that in minutes and not, half a day like it would previously take. So layer 4 is the capabilities. We're thinking about what we want these guys to actually do, the work we want them to produce in the business. Layer 5 is the infrastructure. Okay, so how we actually use it. How you and your team interact with the system. There are 3 levels to this. Each one of them unlocks new possibilities. The first one is going to be how you're going to be in the first couple of days. It's going to be just conversational. You're going to talk to your AI employees through your code editor, VS Code. I'll see if we can throw up some visuals from my previous video so you can get an idea of what VS Code looks like. It's kind of like just a little bit more of an advanced version of Claude Desktop. This is the fastest way to start. You don't need no front end, no deployment, just conversation. You don't need a user interface. You start here and you're going to learn more in a week than a month of tutorials, okay? Work with Claude. The reason why I like Claude Code as an interface is you can read the way that it's reasoning, and that is going to give you a huge amount of knowledge on how AI and LLMs actually think and how even just coding works. So sit there on VS Code and intently look at the way that Claude Code is reasoning, and you'll learn so much there. Don't be tempted to skip to a local platform or deployed product. Stick here, stay here first, and you're going to learn much more about how this all works. Level 2 is local platforms. So you're going to build a front end, but locally on your machine. It'll be hosted on like localhost 3000. You're going to create dashboard or conversation or employee section, just like created for Agency OSX. It's still just you, but it feels like a real product, and you can build on that over time. And then only then, when you want your team to access it, will you then think about a deployed product, which you will host on Versal. And you then have authentication. You can have user accounts like we have. You'll have a polished user interface, and your team can log in from anywhere. And this then turns from a personal tool into a business system. Ours is fully mobile responsive. We've even got an Apple Store app that's currently in review as well. And so, it's very accessible for the team as and when they can speak to it with voice notes and so on and so forth. But you only need this when you've got a team who can use this. This is a vanity system. If it's only you, and if you're a one-man band, you don't need it hosted on a URL. Then it's just like a vanity system and you're wasting time. The single most important thing for the majority of you guys who still aren't making the money you want to be making is, how the hell do I get clients? That's where you want to be spending the majority of your time. It's not building this system. The biggest benefit of this system is like, now I've got some clients and I want to fulfill the work, and I want to be able to take on more than I was able to take on as a one-man band, okay? Or you've got a whole team and you're thinking about solving all those team issues that I highlighted earlier. Okay, layer 6 is continuous improvement, the flywheel, and this is what separates a tool you use for a month from a system that compounds in value. And so there are a number of different ways that the system needs to improve. We have prompt refinement, and so if we've got a bad response, then we update the instructions so it won't happen again. And so we have to be stress testing the system through our own use. The reason why Agency OSX is so amazing for everyone that uses it is because I built it for my actual agency and sent thousands of messages before I gave other people access to it. And so I was able to say, hey, I didn't like this response, I want you to think differently, update the knowledge base, make sure this doesn't happen again. We have knowledge updates itself, so if we learn something new, the AI team learns it too. We automatically are feeding data into the knowledge based on call transcripts that we're having with our clients and internal calls as well. And also just tracking what is working, okay? Which employees deliver, which need better instruction, which materials are we creating that we don't think are up to par? Did we notice some ad copy wasn't quite up to our standard? And we're just tweaking, okay? The way that we improve this system is through tweaking it and getting feedback from the team. We've baked in a feedback system at the bottom of the screen, so the team can go ahead and they can actually give feedback to us based on maybe feature requests or agent feedback, and they can give us that. And then what we've actually got on the back end is what's called an orchestrator agent, which is essentially an AI project manager, which is listening to that feedback. It is comparing it to the goal that we set in that strategy context document right at the start, and then it's deciding whether or not it should automatically implement either that bug fix or the new feature requests. And so we are making this system automatically self-developing. I could go down a rabbit hole there. That's very cool. If you want me to talk about self-developing systems in the future, let me know. Drop a comment and I'll talk about that. Where is this heading along those lines? Right now it's reactive. You ask, they respond. The next thing is going to be proactive. The employees are going to monitor. They'll flag issues. They'll suggest actions before you ask. And then it's going to be fully autonomous. Full workflows, end to end. You just review outputs. And we're building towards this right now. Today's system is the foundation. We are at the infancy of where this is going to be in even just 1 month from now. I cannot comprehend where this system is going to be. Like thinking about where this was just 4 weeks ago now when I first created the MVP of this, like it's incomprehensible where this is going to be in a couple of months from now. I've got a couple of screenshots I actually wanted to show you guys, not because I want to, gloat about how incredible Agency OS X is specifically, just because I want you to see how much can be produced when you build a system like this. So this guy here said, and this is who I referenced earlier, I've used this to build all my SOPs. I use this to hand off information to the team, to create strategies, to understand how to run meetings, the sales meetings. And he's talking about an investment he made, but he invested in a separate product of ours. This is an established agency owner who wanted some really personal one-to-one mentorship. I literally just built out the backbone and operations of the agency of one service manager, creative strategist, and media buyer, all the SOPs, logging, Monday.com automation, Zapier, like my whole agency. Let's fucking scale. Good Friday night, marketing strategy done, free email sequences, results page copy done, landing page copy done, creative review of the landing page done. This tool is going to be a game changer. Put together an ad performance report of Agency OS X, loaded all the meta ads data in the last 3 months, something I was putting off because it was quite cumbersome. Agency OS X made it so dang easy to put together. I put together a 6-slide presentation with the data. We got 24 times return to the client. They're super happy, and so they then just showed this to the client. So that is the full blueprint. Now, here's the thing I want you to really understand before we finish off. Building a system like this does not take months. The actual build, the tech, the infrastructure, that took me a few days to get together. What takes years is the knowledge. The frameworks, the processes, the benchmarks, the lessons from thousands of client interactions, that's the intellectual property. That's what makes the system actually valuable. The tech is the vehicle, but the knowledge is the engine. So you've got 2 paths from here. Path 1, you can take this blueprint, you can build out your own. Everything I've shown you today, you can go and you can do yourself. Okay, you start with your context, plan your team, build your knowledge base, and start using it. And even at that basic level, just the brain, you've got something 10 times more powerful than talking to Claude with no context. And as I said, comment on this video, DM me on Instagram, AI team, and I'm gonna send you the full Notion doc so you can use this as context to start your Claude Code project. Now, path 2, if you'd rather not start from scratch and you want a system that already has 8 years of intellectual property baked in and hundreds of knowledge base files, a system that I will be aggressively scaling over the next few months for my own real multi-7-figure agency, then you can access ours. And what you can do is you can book a call with a member of our team in the description. And it'll be a casual call, and they can walk you through, if this is suitable for you, how you can get access. Either way, you now understand the architecture behind a fully autonomized future through a real agentic workflow. And that puts you ahead of 99% of people who are still just typing questions into a custom GPT and then wondering why the answers are so generic. Now, if you haven't already, go and watch the AI operating system video that I recently put out. That'll give you the full picture on my plan for this year. And this video was just one piece of it, the AI employees. That video will show you the entire system. In fact, go and watch it now and subscribe for more. I'll see you on the next one.